right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Olympus Wealth Strategies podcast, where we help you take your finances to great heights. I've got a special guest with us today, Jack Thomas. He's with the Little Rock Regional Chamber, and he's going to share with a lot of great things about what's going on in Arkansas and hopefully specifically Central Arkansas, since most of us reside here. And I'm really thankful to welcome a good friend in Jack Thomas.
Glad to be here, John. Look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I really appreciate making time. Yeah. Before we dive into everything that's great about Arkansas and everything that's coming and everything that you've done to help elevate Arkansans' experience, let's just talk about who you are for a second.
Yeah, so tough question, but I'm a husband, I'm a dad, a friend, hopefully a good friend to some folks. But yeah, grew up here in Little Rock. This is home to me. This is a place that I care about. So I'm also a man of faith and believe that we have a calling in life, and that we're here for purpose, and we're here to make an impact. And I think part of that will bleed into our conversation today, that bleeds into personal and professional life. But yeah, born and raised here in Little Rock, this is home, and part of the reason I care so much about it.
So have you ever lived outside of Little Rock?
Yeah, sure have. So went to college in Searcy, just up the road at Harding University, and then moved up to D.C. after graduating from college with a short stint with Congressman French Hill. And actually the first house that my wife and I bought in Central Arkansas was in Maumelle. Lived there for a number of years and loved it. Great community. And then had the chance to move back to Little Rock, and obviously love it here. This is home. So covered just about every corner of Central Arkansas, and both personally and then also with work as well.
Well, let's talk about work for a second. So you work for the Little Rock Regional Chamber. You play a big role in it, and maybe just tell our listeners what the chamber actually is, right? A lot of people heard it, but don't really know the mission of it.
Yeah. So the chamber, the Little Rock Regional Chamber, is a 160-year-old nonprofit organization. We're made up of 2,000 members. There's a saying in our business that once you've met one chamber, you've met one chamber, because everybody does it a little bit differently. But we, like I said, 160 years old, and if you look back through the course of our history as an organization, we've been involved in a number of different things, but all with the goal of improving earning opportunities, improving the quality of life, improving the business climate in Central Arkansas. So if you'll indulge me for a second, I got a little bit of a history lesson that I've been looking into. But so our organization, like I said, 160 years old now, founded in 1866. So if you go back and look at Little Rock in 1866, think about this compared to today. The population was 3,727 people. This was the same year that the Little Rock Police Department was formed. The river that's sitting outside the building that we're in, it flooded in the spring and dried up in the summer. Obviously, no barges going up and down that river in 1866. There was no Broadway Bridge. There was no Main Street Bridge that I crossed over here to the studio here in downtown North Little Rock. No state capitol building. So a totally different landscape. But since then, the chamber has been involved in so many different things. And I think that's what sometimes makes it hard to articulate, back to your question of what is it that we do? Because if you look back over the course of that 160-year history, it was the chamber who convened the group and had the idea to go build a park around Pinnacle Mountain in what's now Pinnacle Mountain State Park, bringing in tens of thousands of people annually. You look at the work that the chamber did to bring a technical college to the area, to bring a first-class medical school, which is now UAMS, but one of the biggest economic engines in the state. The work that the chamber did with the airport and developing the airport and increasing flight service through the years. So a number of different things. Obviously, you look now at what we do from an economic development standpoint. A big focus that we have is on the port of Little Rock, which frankly, John, in studying the history, going back and look at some minutes that we have as an organization, the origin story with the chamber's history with the port goes back to the 1950s. There was a chamber, then GM, now what would be referred to as president CEO, that named William Henderson, who advocated for the creation of the port, worked with the city to issue the bonds, and now The port's one of the best success stories in the state with over 50 businesses, 10,000 people from 48 Arkansas counties. And all that started with some vision and started with a conversation. So you look at those things, you look at the work that the chamber did to assemble the land for the Little Rock Air Force Base. You look at the work that the organization did with site selection for the Clinton Presidential Center. You look at the work that the organization did to run the campaign that funded what was then Alltel Arena, now Simmons Bank Arena, State House Convention Center expansion, the River Market, and then most recently with the Tech Park and the Venture Center, and now the Academies of Central Arkansas. So all these different things across a number of different verticals that the organization's been a part of, but a long, rich history of making an impact, not just in Little Rock, but across the region.
And has completely shaped the landscape of, as we know it, Central Arkansas. And let's talk about maybe your role specifically. So for people who don't necessarily know you and what you do, you're in charge of economic development. And so that is bringing businesses into Arkansas or expanding their footprint. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So again, you ask 100 people what economic development is, you'll get 100 different answers. But in essence, it's increasing our earning opportunities through job creation, but then also expanding the tax base, diversifying the economy, and that type of thing. So at the chamber, I've got the privilege of leading a team of 7 very highly dedicated and highly skilled professionals that lead our economic development work. So we've got a corporate site selection vertical. That's the business attraction vertical. We've got a workforce development vertical. We've got an existing industry, a business retention and expansion vertical, a small business and entrepreneurship vertical, a diversity initiatives vertical, and then some specific work around talent. So at our core, we're a B2B business. We go after businesses. We recruit them to the area. And there's a number of things we could get into to that end, but I think that's what most people know us as, is the group that brings businesses to town, that creates jobs. I should rephrase that. We don't create jobs. The companies create jobs, but work with companies that create jobs.
Well, you create the ability and the attraction for them to want to bring their companies and their resources to the state.
Yeah, part of the work that we do is, I mean, it takes a team, but that's absolutely what we're dedicated towards.
Well, maybe let's talk about how long you've been in this role and some successes that we've seen since you've taken over. Can you share with us a few highlights?
So to answer your question, been in the role for 3 years, was at the State Economic Development Commission before that, which is the absolute best place to learn this business. Had the chance to work for a great team of guys, Mike Preston and Jim Hudson and Bentley Story and Clint O'Neill, that still to this day, great mentors, great friends. And then Jay called me about 3 years ago and stepped into this job, I guess almost 3 years to the day. But I mean, I can't take credit for anything, John. I mean, I tell folks all the time that the work, the rewards that we're reaping today really have to do with the work that those who have come before us have done. And I think I'm fortunate to be in a position where I am standing on the shoulders of giants in the work that we're doing now, whether it's our president, CEO, Jay Cheshire, who's been doing this in Little Rock for 20 years, or the guys who have come before me in this role. A guy named Paul Latour, who's a legend in this business, Joey Dean, Ben France, James Reddish, a lot of guys who have set the stage for us to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that we've capitalized on in the last 3 years. So I'm very aware of the work that they've done to set the stage for the success that we've had here in recent history, and hopefully doing my part to make sure that the next 3 to 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, that we can continue to have that same level of success.
You carry the torch of what has already been very successful.
Trying to.
Yeah.
Trying to.
So about kind of the outlook, right? Because you guys are always forward thinking.
Yep.
So maybe share with us, because as somebody who resides in Little Rock and somebody who loves seeing all the growth occur, maybe tell us, if you can, what's on the horizon for Central Arkansans, whether that's downtown. Of course, we see articles in, whether it's Arkansas Business or the other magazines, whether it's downtown or the river or different stuff going on out west. Can you share with us a little bit about some successes that are coming up?
Yeah. So let me just start with some numbers here. So we spend tens of thousands of dollars a year on labor analytics software and different things that look at the market. And if you look back over the last 5 years, the population across the Little Rock region has increased by 20,000 people. The projections, the data that we have shows that over the next 5 years, there's going to be 22,000, 23,000 in terms of population growth over the next 5 years. Last year was a milestone year for us in the sense that we hit a peak employment. And what I mean by that is there are more people working across the Little Rock region than ever before. I think got as high as 373. I saw that the most recent somewhat ebbs and flows, peaks in the summer, comes down towards the end of the year, but we're already 5,000 jobs ahead as a region, ahead of where we were a year ago. So I think we're well on pace to break that, hopefully eclipse 380,000 people working in the region this year.
And real quick, when you talk about jobs, can you maybe highlight the types of jobs that you're bringing? I know you mentioned you diversify across industry, diversify across job base, but these are really great career opportunities for people who not only reside here, but for someone like myself who moved here 4 years ago, opportunities that are created for people to come and experience what Arkansas has to offer.
That's right. Yeah. So across a number of different verticals. I mean, if you looked at our pipeline right now, we're working with a 3D med device technology company. We met the other day with some defense technology companies. There's a lot of growth in the distribution logistics sector. We work with cybersecurity companies and a large presence in the financial technology and financial services space. A lot of advanced manufacturing activity, especially out at the port of Little Rock, where we do a ton of work. So all that to say, there's not just one specific vertical, whether it's on the innovation side and the technology side, or whether it's distribution logistics or anywhere in between. I mean, there's and I think part of that is Little Rock's story, right? That we're not dependent on one specific vertical. We're this battleship of an economy that has so
which a lot of cities are.
Yeah. And I think that's part of what we need to remain focused on is increased diversification in the economy so that if one sector's hit, we don't feel it as much. And I think that's part of that is our story, and part of that is what we will remain focused on.
So as far as growth that's coming, you'd mentioned a handful of companies and the jobs that are expected to come from it. Is a lot of this growth happening in one area of town?
In terms of job creation, I think there's a few pockets where this is happening. I think, you look at a lot of the projects that we work, there's been significant activity at the Port of Little Rock. There are over 5,000 jobs that have been created since 2020 at the port.
Wow.
You look at the Galloway area of North Little Rock, there's hundreds, if not thousands of jobs there that weren't there 5 years ago. You look downtown and you look and see that there are hundreds of jobs coming back downtown. There's strong momentum in the office sector. So, hard to say specifically other pockets just because, you see things here or there, but the ones in terms of hundreds of new jobs or thousands of new jobs, those are the few of the markets that stick out.
So obviously there's a lot of job creation, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of companies that are in consideration of expanding their footprint or bringing their business and talent and resources and opportunities to the area. So how does Arkansas, I think a lot of people are curious about this, whether they're business owners or, people who are considering making a change. How does Arkansas stack up versus maybe some of our regional competitors from a landscape to attract businesses?
Yeah, I think, there's an easy answer to that question. I think the right answer to that question is that every company has their own unique set of requirements, that there are some things that are important to some companies that aren't to others. But you look at the tax climate, the fact that we've slashed our corporate and personal income taxes, that helps from a competitiveness standpoint. We're focusing on our product more now, whether that's site development, infrastructure build out, so that we can be competitive when these companies are doing a multi-state market analysis, looking at us, comparing us to other markets in other states.
And some close by markets, we won't name them, but some close by ones, cost of living is probably a little bit higher than it is here.
Yeah, and I think that's one factor. I mean, we never really want to lead with that. We want to lead with quality. But we are an affordable market. The tax foundation will tell you that a dollar here goes farther than a dollar anywhere else in the country. that resonates. But really, John, I mean, there's three things that companies look at when they're looking at where to locate a business. So it's speed, risk, and money. And to the extent that we can help companies go from spending money to making money here faster than anywhere else, we have an edge. I was talking to a company yesterday that looking at getting them operational 30 days ahead of schedule, what that means in terms of revenue growth. And our ability to help get companies from spending money to making money faster here than somewhere else is an edge for us. And then risk, right? Companies want to go to the place where there's the least amount of risk possible.
Right.
And that looks different for everybody. But a few of those risk factors would be site conditions and can we build here? Or is there something that's going to get in the way of us building? Is the workforce here? Are there unforeseen landmines that might get in the way of us doing what we think we're going to do? So helping companies eliminate that risk is important. And then the third thing's money. That's the essence of private markets, that companies make investments to make money. And if we can help them do that here and they're successful in that, then that gives us an edge too. But it's really those three things, speed, risk, and money, that if we can help companies enhance their speed, mitigate their risk, and go from spending money to making money faster here than somewhere else, then we have a competitive edge.
Yeah. Speed, risk, and money. It's that easy. So as far as legislation is concerned, though, is there any legislation that the chamber tries to get involved in or help advocate for, whether it's bills that are not even on the floor yet or ones that are that might make Arkansas even more of a competitive landscape? Yeah,
absolutely. And we do a ton of work behind the scenes, but I think anything that pertains to economic development, we're typically involved in. So we just wrapped up a very, very successful legislative session. There are some people who are out there saying that this is the most impactful economic development legislative session in decades. The governor even said that in a press conference that she had. And a lot of that centers around some incentive changes that were made, much of which stemmed from a task force that Secretary of Commerce Hugh McDonald put together with economic developers from around the state that enhanced a few programs, created a few new tools like a corporate headquarters relocation incentive, a modernization and automation incentive, just bringing some incentives up to speed and up to date. Some of that centers around some energy legislation that was passed that's critical. Companies are now asking, I'm going to go where I can get the power. Do you have the power? And so that's a competitive tool. The Generating Arkansas Jobs Act was a big step in the right direction in terms of that piece. And, to your question about how involved do we get, there are times that much of what we do is behind the scenes, but there are times that we'll step out and we'll call folks, we'll testify for certain things. And that was one that we did testify for in the House and the Senate, and took a lot of people to get that across the finish line. But I think we're now very well positioned because of that energy legislation, which is not always the sexiest legislation, that goes through, but it leads to jobs and it leads to investment, which leads to tax revenue that funds.
And great paying jobs, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And everybody wants smooth roads. Everybody wants a well-funded police department. Everybody wants a responsive fire department. Everybody wants good schools. Those things take money, and you have to make money to be able to have those things. And I think if you look at communities and you look at the impact of economic development, it's large-scale investments that generate a lot of that revenue, in addition to tourism and sales tax revenue and other things. But the ability to deliver power is fundamental to large-scale investments. So that was one piece of legislation that was critical throughout the session. And then another thing that I think will be very important to keep an eye on, something that you saw surface towards the end of the session, was this concept of economic development districts. That was another thing that's been worked on behind the scenes for a while now. But it's this, without going into too many details and bore you with the details, it effectively gives local communities the tools that they need to attract the development that they want. So if you look at destination retail or entertainment facilities, there's really not an effective tax increment financing mechanism in Arkansas. Again, won't go into the backstory, but some lawsuits that have effectively deemed TIF financing ineffective in the state of Arkansas. So this concept of economic development districts will allow cities and counties and local entities to choose for themselves what they want to attract to their community. And that'll look different for everybody, right? We're sitting here in downtown North Little Rock. You may look and say, for us, that's going to be a mixed use development that overlooks the river. You look in downtown Little Rock, you might take a surface parking lot could have ground floor retail and mixed use above it, residential, whatever that might be. In some communities, it could be more traditional retail. In some communities, it could be a destination like a Great Wolf Lodge or a water park, whatever it might be. And then in some communities, it could be strategic housing. So it's pretty open-ended by design, but that's an item. I bring that up because that's an item that was referred out as one of the 3 constitutional amendments by the legislature that will have to go before the voters to be passed. So there's more to come on that. There'll be a pretty significant voter education campaign over the course of the next 18 months before that goes to the voters next November of 2026. So I'm optimistic.
It's like a very positive piece of legislation that could be rolling out for each local community to be able to determine what's best for them.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the design of the legislation, is that it's not going to look the same in Little Rock as it does in Fordyce, and it's not going to look the same in Rogers as it does in
Each
Woodlawn.
community is different,
exactly,
and they have different needs.
Yeah, and different aspirations of what they want to be. And I think we're all hopeful that this will allow for those communities at the local level to be able to determine for themselves what it is that they want. Because the reality in Arkansas is most incentives sit at the state level, and that's not dissimilar to other states that we compete against for jobs. But there's very little local incentive to be able to attract development. Certainly no retail incentives in the state like Texas has with municipal 380 agreements, or Kansas has with STAR bonds. And quickly getting into the boring details here, but
it's all important stuff as far as what different states have that could be a differentiator that separates Arkansas from its competitors when it comes to economic development.
That's right. And I think the short story, just to tie up this question, is that economic development districts will be very, very important from a quality of life standpoint to attract destination retail, to attract entertainment facilities. Like I said, in some places, potentially strategic housing. So more to come on that, but very, very important that that's a tool that we have in the state of Arkansas that we currently don't have. And we're optimistic that that'll be passed next November.
So as far as, let's kind of take it back a step, as far as the chamber itself, obviously rich history has truly changed the landscape of what Central Arkansas looks like through the help of its citizens. But as far as how people can get involved, you mentioned that there are hundreds of business owners and members and companies that are involved. How can, whether you're a business owner listening to this, or maybe you are an employee of a business that is considering getting involved in the chamber, how can they get involved, and what does that involvement look like?
Yeah, I think the best thing, what I would say and offer up is contact us. We want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Don't just go to a website and check it out. You're welcome to go to our website and look at everything that we're doing. But we want to engage with folks. So all of our contact information is on our website, littlerockchamber.com. We want folks to reach out to us. I always tell people that it's not enough for a staff of 18 to do economic development. We need the entire community thinking like economic developers. We need the entire community thinking how they can bring business to the region, how they can enhance the quality of life, bringing fresh ideas from a quality of place standpoint. We need more than just one organization thinking that way. And there obviously are more organizations, but we need the general public thinking that way. But in terms of, I guess, more formal ways to get involved, we've got a number of different events over the course of time, of course of the calendar year that we'd love for people to get involved with, that tie into our mission, whether it's an economic development discussion on outdoor recreation or public policy, or it's an event like we're hosting tonight, Picking at the Port, where we celebrate the accomplishments of the port and bring people out to the port to see the thousands of jobs that have been added in the last few years. Because geographically, the port is out of sight, out of mind. So there are many people that live in Little Rock and Central Arkansas that don't see the thousands of jobs that have been added. This event, Picking at the Port, is a chance to take folks out there so they can see for themselves the significant investment that's taking place at the port. So, it's events like that. We've got an ambassador program that that businesses and business leaders can get involved with. We've got a number of leads groups, some smaller committees and task force, whether it's a small business committee, a diversity committee, whether it's our economic development program that funds our work to do some of the things that we've talked about today. But, I think it can be a little bit overwhelming to step into an organization with 2,000 plus members and say, where do I get involved? So my offer to anybody that's listening to this is call us. We can help get you plugged in the right spot that aligns with whatever their goals might be. So there's a place for everybody.
And then maybe too for listeners, whether it's children of listeners or people that are maybe just a little bit younger than us, there's also is it called Create Little Rock?
Yeah. So Create Little Rock is our young professionals network. So folks, there's not a defined age on what that can be, but typically folks in their 20s and 30s that are looking to expand their network, looking to get involved in the community, that we do a number of different things with, whether it's happy hours or educational events. We have a speaker series where we bring in community leaders to give advice to young professionals. Phenomenal network for folks to get engaged with, and I think only sets them up long term to advance not just within their business, but advance in the community as the network broadens, as the experience broadens. So Create Little Rock's an awesome organization to get involved with. A number of fun things coming out over the course of the summer in terms of events with that group. So anybody who's listening that's in their 20s and 30s, I would say absolutely get involved with Create Little Rock.
Awesome. Well, Jack, we appreciate you coming on. Is there any kind of final thoughts about anything we've talked about or something that maybe we didn't hit on today?
Man, I'm sure there is. Gosh, there's so much that is going on. But, I would just say, and I want to make sure that I emphasize this, that every good thing that happens takes a team.
Yeah.
And there are a team of people, whether it's the mayor and city leadership, or whether it's Brian Day in the Port of Little Rock, or whether it's the Little Rock Technology Park, the Venture Center, whether it's the Downtown Little Rock Partnership. A lot of good things going on that it takes a team. No one person, no one organization can do this alone. And I think we all work together better when we do work together, right? And we're fortunate that we do that. So
a lot of talented people in the right seats.
Yeah, and a lot of people who care, right? And I think that's what's most important, is people who care about this place, and people who want to see it be better tomorrow than it is today. And I think I'm blessed to work at a place where I can say confidently that everybody that walks through the halls of that place at the Chamber thinks that way. And we're blessed as a community to have people in leadership positions that also think that way. So, I would say that, just as we wrap up here, that it takes a team to be able to do anything that gets accomplished. And we're fortunate to have a good team. And I'd also say that the marketplace is very competitive. We talked about some of these investments, but, every time a company looks at us, they're looking somewhere else too. And it's, there are things that we have to do to be able to get an edge to secure that investment. And we're better when we work regionally and be able to combine the assets of the region as one unique product that we can take out into the marketplace. So we're blessed to be able to have regional partners that understand that vision and work together as a region. It's I think the message is teamwork, whether it's within the city limits of Little Rock or whether it's across the region. It takes a team to be able to do good things, and we're blessed to have a good one.
Well, Jack, we appreciate you joining us. And for those people out there, there's obviously a way to get involved and get in contact with the Chamber or the Young Professionals Organization, Create Little Rock. And I would advocate that you do that if you're in a position to do so. But appreciate another great episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
All opinions expressed on the podcast by the host and guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Olympus Wealth Strategies or Uptick Partners, a registered investment advisor. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not legal advice and should not be relied upon as a basis for any decisions. The investments discussed on this podcast may not be suitable for all investors and involve risks that should be carefully considered. Listeners are encouraged to consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Certain investments may require specific investor qualifications, which not all individuals may meet. Any funds or companies discussed are not a recommendation or endorsement. Guests in the podcast might be actual clients, but are not compensated to be on the show, and their experiences are not representative of all relationships, which might differ substantially.